So what is going on, everyone? Fernando Silva here with another video, and if you guys have been watching my channel, you know that the Microsoft Suite playlist on both the iPad Pro and the M1 MacBook Air are pretty much the most watched videos on the channel. And usually the most talked about application is Microsoft Excel, because a lot of people need Microsoft Excel on a daily basis, and even more than just a basic level, right? They need their master level Excel users, and they need all the different layers and options to be there. Usually the biggest deterrent when it comes to Excel users on the iPad Pro is that it's not fully there. And for the basics, it's gotten way, way better. So if you are just a basic Excel user, you'll be totally fine with it. But the number one question that I get is, can you use pivot tables on the iPad Pro? And I've been very hesitant to answer that question because I'm not very familiar with pivot tables, what they're used for, what the use cases are. I've never used them really, but I had to do a little bit of research to find out if you can actually use pivot tables, if you can create pivot tables, if you can modify pivot tables on the iPad Pro itself to let you know, hey, the iPad Pro is a good substitution or a good alternative to a Windows computer or even a Mac OS computer. But without further ado, let's show you exactly what pivot tables look like on the iPad Pro. Let's get into it. Before we actually get started, comment below exactly what everybody uses their pivot tables for. What are your use cases? How often do you use it? Is it a detriment if you don't have it? Because I'm trying to see all the different ways people use pivot tables, and I want to know what industries people are in and things like that. But I did want to show off exactly how you can create, modify, edit, and finalize pivot tables with data sets through the iPad Pro exclusively. So the one caveat is that you do have to go through the web portal, right? So this does not work with a dedicated application. So if you go to the Excel application, the pivot table functionality just is not there. So for instance, I'm going to pull up this data set that I have right here. This is just a sample bit data set. And if I want to go insert a pivot table, it doesn't give me the option, right? It just does not give me the option. Normally it would be up here. And this is with the dedicated application that's been updated again for the latest version of iPad OS. So if we get out of that, go back into our Office portal, and again, I recommend using Safari because Safari is a desktop class browser, and it makes it a lot easier to actually use when it comes to all the desktop type functionality. So if I want to go, this is my OneDrive. What I want to do is, first off, if you double click, so with 2 fingers, you now have the option to open in browser or open with the desktop app, which is something that wasn't there before. So I'm going to open it in browser because that's what you want to do. Before, if you wanted to open something in browser, you would have to actually delete the physical Excel application because it would try to default take you to the Excel app. But here you guys see we do have a nice little data set. It's very random. Again, it's a sample one that I got off the internet. Basically, what we have to do is click on any one of these cells, go into insert up here, hit the pivot table, and then all of a sudden it's creating a pivot table right for you in real time. And you can see all the statistics and everything that you need to do right here. So it shows you the insured value by business type. So it takes all the different accesses and kind of shows you exactly what you need to know at a glance. And then again, you can insert a new sheet, add it to an existing sheet. It gives you all the results that you would need. So I can show all the 10 results. And if I add this to a new sheet, boom, there's my pivot table on the new sheet. And again, you can filter it based on exactly what you need. So it works exactly like a pivot table would on Windows or Mac OS through the dedicated application. And I'm just happy that we have some sort of functionality or some sort of similar functionality through Excel, through the Office.com web portal, but still on the iPad Pro. Because again, everybody knows that the iPad Pro is the way that I would rather do all of my work, and it's the way that I try to make everybody else do all their work. And a big thing was that the pivot tables there was no functionality for pivot tables, and a lot of people use pivot tables. So again, you can see, let's add this one to a new sheet. Sheet 2, it creates my pivot table for me. You can change all the filters, columns, rows, change the values, choose all the different fields that you want to include. So if I want to choose the location, add the state, add the policy, everything gets added in there, and it's just amazing to see. And you can open up all the different tabs. And again, it's just a full functioning pivot table, just only through the web portal. And again, it's just very easy to use, and it's a fully functioning version of Excel. If anything, it's more functional than the dedicated application. And I think it's a great option for Excel masters or master Excel users to use Excel on their iPad Pro without feeling like they have a watered down version of it. But that's gonna do it for this portion. Let's go back to the normal view. So as everybody saw, the functionality isn't 100% there yet. You do have to go through the web portal application of Excel in order to create pivot tables. But you do have the option to create pivot tables off the iPad Pro as long as you have an internet connection, right? So you can't really create pivot tables offline because you need to be on the web portal to access these files and access the Excel document. So you need to be on Wi-Fi or have data or something along those lines. But you can see that you can create pivot tables from scratch. You can create one maybe on a Windows computer and then save it on your OneDrive and then open it on both the web portal and the application. So it really just depends on how you're going to go about attacking what you need to do on Excel with pivot tables. So the best use case is if you want to go full iPad Pro and you need to create pivot tables, then you're going to have to go through the Excel web portal or Office.com web portal to get that full capability. But if you just need to do something on the go and already have a created pivot table, then using the application is fine because you can use that offline and it still works whenever you're modifying, changing, or editing the files or the data inside of that data set. So again, if you want to create pivot tables from scratch, go through the web portal on the iPad Pro, and it works great. And every single day it gets better because again, Safari is a desktop class browser on the iPad Pro, so you're not losing any functionality at all, which I absolutely love. And it stays integrated with your OneDrive. So if you're working off of files off of OneDrive, it's a perfect thing to have. So hopefully this helps somebody out. I know that there's still a lot more to dive into with pivot tables, but I wanted to show off this finding that I got in order to give people that peace of mind that, hey, pivot tables to an extent do work on the iPad Pro. Sometimes it's a little wonky, right? That's pretty much the word I use to describe those applications or those use cases where you have to do a workaround on the iPad Pro. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's worth it. The iPad Pro is the greatest IT machine, the greatest tech consumer machine that's ever been created. So that's gonna do it for this video. Don't forget to check out channel sponsor Paperlike, especially if you're a OneNote user. It's amazing to have on there. You know, the resistance that you get with the Apple Pencil is amazing, and it just makes you feel like you're writing on paper, and you're protecting the screen, which is the #1 asset on your iPad Pro. But again, that's gonna do it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, comment below what we wanna see next. Don't worry, I did not forget about the M1 Microsoft Series, episode 4. We'll be talking about Microsoft Excel on the M1 MacBook. So stay tuned for that and hit the subscribe button for that one. But until next time,